Dickhead alert again. We've got another dickhead. Now today we've got an article in The Telegraph by Alex Proud about why would anyone in their right mind want to join the vegan cult? And to be honest, whenever vegans are talked about in the mainstream news, it's a good thing because most of these articles are written in fear, and anything talking about being vegan is good to have in the mainstream media. So thanks for that, Alex. Let's have a quick look through the article. Just under a year ago, I wrote that I was thinking of going vegetarian and that morally and environmentally, it was tough to argue otherwise. Correct. I stand by this. Good old boy. But you won't be surprised to know that I have failed abysmally. Yes, I eat a bit less red meat. But the day I tell you that sausages are a half-forgotten memory and that aubergines and tofu are just as good as steak remains as far off now as it was then. As my history teacher told me all those years ago, I have a lack of moral fibre and probably a lack of dietary fibre too. So he goes on to talk about most of his family are vegetarian and that he doesn't have a problem with this. Awfully good of you. Okay, so given my general acceptance of vegetarianism, you might think I'd like vegans too, but I don't. The thing is, vegetarian feels pretty normal. It's mainstream. To use a political analogy, being a vegetarian is like voting centre-left. It's like being Lib Dem or New Labour. Veganism is like going full Corbyn. It's weird, cranky crusade full of zealots trying to create their own reality. Okay, so first off, this guy clearly considers only things which are mainstream to be normal. He's one of those guys. He's like, if everyone's doing it, it's fine. So like, if everyone was, I don't know, having a war and persecuting Jews or something, and he happened to be a German, that apparently would be fine because it's mainstream. Mate, things that are mainstream aren't always right. Following the mainstream is what got most people in the shit they're in today, in loads of aspects of life. Mainstream is, frankly, mostly a pile of absolute shit. A few months back, a vegan of my acquaintance was telling me that along with sausages, I should also dump the dairy. You should. Actually, I think you'll find 75% of people are lactose intolerant, she said, with that superior tone of voice that brooks no discussion. And she was right. 75% of the world's population is lactose intolerant. But this figure is much, much lower in Europe, where we have lived and evolved alongside domestic cattle for thousands of years. In the UK, it's under 5%. Okay, fair enough, so we've adapted to a horrific practice. Go us. But what about the cows that provide the milk? Vegans will often ask how you would like to be hooked up to a milking machine. But again, I'm a bit unconvinced here. As I live in the country, I know a lot of farmers who, when they're drunk, will tell me how they abhor poultry rearing and despair of intensive pig farming. But dairy, not so much. What's it got to do with farmers liking it? It's not yours to take. The cows get to spend a lot of time outside roaming around big grassy fields. Often the land they graze on would not be suitable for growing crops anyway. And on farms where the cows are milked by robots, cows will queue up to be milked without human intervention. Okay, so the farmers probably don't mind it as much because, like you say, the robots are doing the grunt of the work here. And why do the cows queue up to be milked? Well, firstly, it's because they've been raped so that they are forced to have a baby. Once that baby is born, that baby is snatched away from them straight away, and then that cow is milked to buggery for all that it's worth. So these cows have to be milked because they're expecting to give their milk to a baby calf, which isn't present because it's been taken away. But it's okay because, you know, these cows are confined most of their time. They get to roam about in the field occasionally. And, you know, their babies are snatched away, but that's fine because the babies are sold off somewhere and killed for meat or veal or milked, something like that. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I know that a dairy cow's life is not perfect. Yep. But compared to all sorts of other animals, it's not that bad either. Oh, that's all right then. It's only a little bit bad. Let's not forget that dairy and meat and all this is completely avoidable. There's loads of alternatives. But if we're just treating them a little bit shittily, if we're just raping them and taking their babies and, you know, just milking them until they get serious injury, that's fine because they're not too bad. It's all right. I haven't got a problem with that. Besides, cows aren't people or even pigs. And I'm a pragmatist at heart. A bit like the vegan who wears leather shoes because really nothing loves your feet like leather. No, nothing loves a cow's back like leather, you dickhead. It's only called leather because people get all, if we call it dead cow skin wrapped around your shoe. If a vegan is wearing leather shoes, they're probably not completely vegan. Or they've had the shoes a while from before they were vegan. You know, you shouldn't make judgment on people and what they do. Dickhead. Anyway, moving on, we come to milk substitutes. Honestly, if veganism is so great, then why do you spend so much time trying to duplicate milk? Okay, this is quite complex for your tiny mind, I presume, but it's because our society is conditioned to believe that meat and dairy is acceptable. It's acceptable to kill animals. It's acceptable to put them through unimaginable cruelty. It's acceptable to do all these things because we've done it for ages and it's fine, and the farmers make money and the government make money. Everyone makes money. And by the way, if we're talking about cult, that's the real cult. It's the cult of exploitation and pure greed. It's absolutely fine, regardless of whether it's bad for our health or, you know, it's a terrible thing to do, or that it would be much better for the environment not to do it and just to grow crops instead. It's fine. The reason we have milk substitutes is because we, like you, were probably conditioned from birth. And, you know, we've come accustomed to like things like a cup of tea with milk in it, or recipes with milk in them, or, you know, a bowl of porridge. All these things are awesome. And because we're accustomed to have it with milk, then it makes sense to provide a substitute for that. You know, we don't want to miss out on the food. We just want something which doesn't involve horrendous cruelty in the process to make it with. And the thing is, once you get used to that milk, you know, it's actually a lot nicer. I accidentally had some cow's milk the other day. Someone made me a cup of tea and I accidentally had cow's milk in it, and it tasted sour as fucking hell. So your initial disgust is just because you haven't got the ability to want to try this stuff and, you know, get into it. You're like, oh, I'm not touching that, it's disgusting. Just, what the fuck is wrong with you? Almond milk, which is widely thought of to be the best substitute, tastes nothing like milk. That's because it's not milk. It's made from almonds. Soy milk tastes like mud. Maybe you should try eating mud instead. Maybe you should eat shitloads of mud, so much that you fucking pop. And he goes on to diss other milks because that's his thing. He likes to diss milks, apparently. While we're at it, almond milk, that modern badge of moral rectitude, is very, very bad for the environment. 80% of the world's almond crop comes from California, which is suffering from a brutal multi-year drought. The thing is, my friend, it's not nearly as bad for the environment as milk. You're trying to say, oh, that's quite bad for the environment, we shouldn't do that, when what you're doing is about 10 times worse. So that doesn't really stack up. And there are plenty of sources of almond milk around the world that can be sourced to an environmental standard. Almonds are a very thirsty crop, and they're guzzling up the underground aquifers. Yes. Cattle's quite thirsty as well. It consumes, but the animals you eat, the animals you use for your food consume so much more water than you would require to douse the crops with water that you could eat instead. Okay, the problems with veganism are legion. Vegans often suffer from a lack of calcium, iron, and vitamins such as A, D, and B12. So do many meat eaters. This isn't a vegan-only problem, although you're trying to pin it on vegans. An ill-thought-out vegan diet can have so much fibre that it affects the absorption of nutrients by the lower intestine. Likewise, an ill-thought-out meat-based diet can have so little fibre that you can't shit. Is that why you're so cranky? Have you not been able to dump one out for a while? Any diet can have problems associated with it if you don't have a very balanced diet. That is quite obvious. It can also mean lots of sugar as you scoff enormous quantities of protein-poor veg to get the protein you need. Or you could eat food which is rich in protein, like nuts and lentils and tofu and soya and all these other things which are rich in protein, rather than thinking, oh, I need to eat 25 kilograms of broccoli to get the same protein as I would from 16 steaks. What? You're really clutching at straws here just to spread hate about vegans. Why is that? Were you bullied by one when you were younger or something? Why do you fear us so much? Anecdotally, I'd say the vegetarians I know tend to be healthier and slimmer than the rest of us, but not the vegans. There's something to stereotype of a vegan who is always skinny and a bit cold. Oh, I am freezing my tits off right now. Oh man, look, the goosebumps on my arm. I'm always so cold, it's crazy. As far as known, no traditional society has ever been vegan. Oh. Let's base our lives on societies of the past, shall we? Of rule, of kings, of emperors, of people put into slavery, of people abused for their land, and of hierarchical structure so disparate that it's untrue. Let's do that, because that makes sense. Because basically what we're doing is we're coming from a completely unevolved background, cavemen upwards, through terrible wars and stuff like that, and we're advancing. And that's what vegans are really trying to do, a bit more. But you want to pin us back and hold us back down. We need to do everything like we did in the past. That makes perfect sense to me. Should you want to raise your kids vegan, you need to give them an awful lot of vitamin supplements. This, to me, is nature's way of telling you that you shouldn't raise children vegan. You're not... Okay, a vegan child who eats a normal vegan diet, I can probably guarantee would have more vitamins than a meat-based child. Especially a meat-based child who eats most of the processed food shit from supermarkets that we have nowadays. That is the real problem here, all the processed buggery we have in shops. Okay? Not your little segregation of vegans because, they've made you a bit upset. There's also endless bloody proselytising. Everything from the woman who recently died climbing Everest, because she wanted to prove vegans can do anything, to a blog post I was reading today entitled 25 Things I Wish I Knew Before Becoming Vegan. And you know why she died climbing Everest trying to prove that? It's because of little maggots like you who are endlessly trying to put other groups or people who are trying to do something fucking awesome down. Because you can't cope with it. So rather than going, oh yeah, they're vegan, that's amazing what they're doing, they are going out of their way to reduce animal suffering and cruelty. They're breaking from the normal conventions of society and saying that is wrong, I'm not going to do that anymore. What an amazing group of people. You're trying to put them down because you can't fit into that bracket. Apparently you've tried it and I can't do it. It's not for me. I haven't got the moral fibre. And now you're saying, oh yeah, this woman died climbing Everest because she was trying to prove she was vegan. Because of dickheads like you! What's wrong with you? Seriously, are you a vegan or have you joined a cult? Yeah, we've joined a cult, mate. It's called the Cult of Love. Where you seem to be stuck in the cult of hate. Hope that works out for you. Speaking of which, there's the buy-in from moronic Hollywood celebrities. Hello again, Gwyneth, and their dumb as quinoa Instagram followers. So you're abusing everyone who follows Gwyneth Paltrow. There's a lot of abuse, a lot of hate, and a lot of fear in you, isn't there, my friend? It's no exaggeration to say that veganism can feel a bit like everything that is wrong with wealthy middle-class Western humanity. Okay, right. Most vegans I know aren't middle-class, wealthy, and Western, not really Western. Most of India is like vegetarian and vegan. It's not really anything to do with that. It's just to do with your moral mindset and your ability to break out of this conditioning and realise what things are wrong. You've associated it with middle-class Western because you see celebrities doing that. You think, I can tag on to that. But then there's how many celebrities aren't vegan? More! It's just a demographic of society. It's like a wedge of society, and you've clapped onto one part, and you're trying to exaggerate that part and say, oh, it's these people, it's these middle classes who are pushing it, when it's nothing to do with that at all. There might be some of them, of course, because the demographic doesn't lie in class, it lies in moral aptitude, some of which you seem to be lacking. Ultimately, it's the smugness and self-righteousness that does it for me. Oh yeah. If it was a private thing, I'd probably just reward it as a bit weird and cranky. Oh, it's so nice of you. What a guy. But it never is. You always know when someone's vegan. Yes, you do, because we're trying to end this practice of horrific animal cruelty and injustice. So we bang on about it quite a lot. Despite dickheads like you trying to put us down all the time. They'll always tell you, and they'll always do it in a tone that leaves you in no doubt about your own moral failings, laddie. You're right, we will. And it's good that you've acknowledged that it is a moral failing of yourself that is the problem here. And we do that because, yeah, we don't want you to be in any doubt about your own moral failings, because you are failing yourself and all the animals you're killing and putting through cruelty drastically through your moral failing. But I'm being slightly comical when I say that. I mean, you're blanketing all vegans as this group of people who are like, oh, so superior, oh, I feel like this, you disgusting meat eaters. When really, that is exactly what you're doing by this article. You know, the majority of vegans aren't like that at all. They're the most humble, loving people I have ever met. And that is why they're vegans, because they care as much about an individual animal's life as another human. Whereas you couldn't give a fucking shit. You're trying to distance yourself from vegans by saying, I would never be like that. I'm never going to be like that. You're the one who's trying to create this moral difference. You, not people who are trying to save the lives of others purely through love. And you can tell that you're writing for a right-wing newspaper because, frankly, that is how all hatred works. It works by labelling a group of people so that other people can distance themselves from them and become their enemy, essentially. That's how people like Trump work. That's how any hate in the past works. That's how the persecution of Jews worked. That's how racism works. Anything. You label a group and then you spread hate and fear-mongering about that group. Mostly, all vegans do is try and educate people. But there's a lot of resistance to this education through conditioning. People don't like to have their illusions shattered. You are particularly one of them. You hate having your illusions shattered so much that you'll write an entire article trying to put vegans down for the amount of love and compassion they have. Frankly, that's fucking disgusting. You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Anyway, at the bottom, he's got a little survey. So, would you consider going vegan? I've clicked yes. Apparently, 85% of people have clicked yes and 15% have clicked no. So, they've read your dickwad article and they thought, you're a bit of an idiot, I'm going to click yes. So, hopefully, you've changed a lot more people vegan. So, I have to say, what's your name? Alex Proud. I am proud of you. Well done! You are helping the vegan cause. And for that, I can't thank you enough. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.